Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. Apologize for starting a couple minutes late, and thank you for being with us. I want to start off by thanking the governor and his office and the team at HCD, including Director Gustavo Velasquez, who was unable to join us today, but here in spirit, and I want to thank them for their ongoing partnership and collaboration and commitment to enforcing our housing laws throughout the state of California. We've been a great team working hand in hand to enforce the laws of the state of California that are on the books, that are not suggestions, are not recommendations. They are the law, and they must be followed by all. And I'm pleased to have Megan Kirkeby here today, Director for Housing and Policy Development at HCD. You'll be hearing from her shortly. She's going to say a few words and help answer any questions that you may have. And I want to finally acknowledge my team at the California Department of Justice, who made today's announcement possible. Supervising Deputy Attorney General Christina Bull-Arndt, Deputy Attorney General Matthew Struhar, Senior Assistant Attorney General Daniel Olivas, Chief of Policy Francesca Gesner, and Special Assistant Attorneys General Eleanor Bloom and Jessica Gordon. We have a great team working on this and many other cases, and I want to thank them for their incredible work in the past, currently, and the work I know they're going to do in the future. I also want to say thank you to Nicole Restemeyer, a staff member for the Assembly Housing Committee, who brought this to HCD's attention. All it takes is one drive around any of California's cities, one drive through an underpass or by a deserted street corner to see that we're in the throes of an undeniable housing crisis. You can't turn away from it. It's everywhere you go. A crisis that touches every corner and every community in the state, including the city of Elk Grove. A crisis that will only worsen unless all of us work in unison, together, doing our part, pitching in. Each and every one of us, from state office to city council, has a role, even a duty, to check our egos and put our fellow Californians first. Unfortunately, we're here because Elk Grove has shirked that responsibility. Instead, they've chosen to stifle affordable housing projects, discriminate against lower-income families, and knowingly violate state housing law. That's why I, alongside Governor Newsom and HCD, am announcing a lawsuit to require Elk Grove to approve the Oak Rose Supportive Housing Project and fall in line with the law. If approved, Oak Rose would create 66 units of supportive housing for lower-income folks at risk of homelessness in an area in dire need of lower-income housing. Looking at the evidence, it's clear this project was denied because of the intended residents. Because while Oak Rose was denied under the guise of an quote-unquote objective standard, that housing project must only have commercial space. That housing project must only have commercial space on the ground floor. That was the articulated reason. A market rate housing development, subject to the same standard, included residential space on the ground floor, and yet was recently approved in the same area. So one project for lower income folks with supportive housing denied, the same approach in a more market rate project, less housing for higher income housing approved. That's wrong. Can't do that. Not such an objective standard after all, if it only applies to one project and not the other. They're clearly exercising discretion in a discriminatory way. The main difference between the two projects is that one creates fewer homes at a higher price, the other creates more homes that are more affordable. In fact, Elk Grove even admitted that its, quote, objective standard isn't really objective, which means they can't use it to deny the project. Elk Grove's decision to deny the Oak Rose project violates multiple state laws, SB 35, the Housing Accountability Act, and California's fair housing laws. Laws specifically in place to address our critical housing needs, combat discrimination, and increase affordable housing opportunities. And again, these are laws, they're not optional. They're required, they're mandatory. You must follow them. The law is the law. It applies to everyone equally. Every Californian has plenty of opportunities to engage in the law-making process. But this isn't one of them. This is after the lawmaking process is over and the laws are codified in our state statutes. If you want to, while laws are being proposed and amended and determined and finally decided, you can advocate against legislation if you don't like it. You can call, you can email, you can tweet the governor not to sign the bill if that's what you wish. You can challenge a law in court. You can even run for office to do your part in a publicly elected official role. But you can't ignore a law once it's in place, simply because it doesn't suit you. The laws are clear, and this legislature and this governor are becoming more and more impatient about the need to build more housing across the state. The laws reflect that. They provide clear requirements for expedition of the production of housing, streamlining of the production of housing, more ministerial review, and those laws are clear, as is Elk Grove's refusal to follow those laws. The message we're sending today is clear as well. Act in good faith, follow the law, do your part to address California's housing crisis. If you don't, we will be there to hold you to account. For 2 years, DOJ's Housing Strike Force has been monitoring compliance and ramping up enforcement where laws have been broken. We've taken action in multiple cities across the state, as you may have seen: Huntington Beach, Pasadena, Woodside, Encinitas, El Cajon are just some examples, as well as other local jurisdictions. And we're not losing steam, not even close. We're speeding up. We're going to continue to do more if the actions of local jurisdictions require it. But again, act in good faith, follow the law, do your part to address California's housing crisis. We're not going to lose steam, not when, according to HCD, California will need an estimated 2.5 million new homes by 2030 in order to meet housing demand. And yet less than 125,000 new homes are being built each year. The dearth of housing is driving up prices across the state, making our unaffordability crisis worse. Meanwhile, every night, an estimated 170,000 Californians, they sleep in shelters or on the street. This is the challenge California is confronting. We can't avert our gaze. We can't look away. We can't get distracted. We've all got to be committed to tackling this problem, to confronting it. You have to face the problem before you can fix the problem. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a part that they can do. So that's what we're doing today. We're making sure that those who have a role are following that role, not shirking it, not violating the law, not flouting the law. This isn't an easy problem. It's not going to be solved overnight. Everyone here knows that. But if we all pitch in, if we all do our part, together we can solve it. If each of us are committed to using all the tools at our disposal to advance housing access, housing affordability, and equity in California, we can get there together. We're committed to ensuring no one is above the law and no one is discriminated against because of how much money they make. And now, before we turn it over to questions, I'd like to invite Megan to say a few words. Megan.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you so much, Assembly Attorney General Bonta. As was said, I'm Megan Kirkaby. I'm the Deputy Director of Housing Policy for the California Department of Housing and Community Development. My division oversees the Housing Accountability Unit. I'm here on behalf of Governor Newsom's administration, which has been working in partnership with Attorney General Bonta and the Housing Strike Force. Together, we continue to be a united front in our commitment to ensure that every city and county complies with California's housing laws and meets their duty to support more affordable, attainable housing. The administration has made it clear, working together at the state and local level to ensure accountability for meeting housing development goals is the best way that we will succeed in achieving safe and affordable housing for all. And we're here to work with you. To that end, the administration and HCD have created and implemented a suite of tools, technical assistance, and funding programs to support local efforts to increase the supply and quality and quantity of housing at all income levels. Despite warnings from HCD's Housing Accountability Unit, the city has blatantly rebuffed our guidance and refused to approve the Oak Rose Apartments, a 66-unit, 100% affordable, supportive housing community in a high-resource area of the city. That can seem small, but every time we say no to housing, we make homelessness worse in California. The city's denial of the Oak Rose apartments is a clear violation of state housing law. When these laws are followed, families thrive, we decrease and prevent homelessness, we begin to build more inclusive communities, and we unravel patterns of segregation and exclusion. These laws give space for local flexibility and input as jurisdictions are invested, if jurisdictions are invested in solving this crisis together. The streamlined housing approval process afforded by SB 35 is a key tool enacted to accelerate the development of affordable homes, which are desperately needed across the state to reduce homelessness. SB 35 only applies to cities and counties who are failing in their commitments to build more housing. Let me emphasize that again. If jurisdictions are on track to approve sufficient homes, SB 35 doesn't apply to them. But when they are behind, cities or counties that do have a development come before them for approval require non-discretionary approval of those developments that include a specified level of affordability and meet other standards that show the site is a good place for homes to be. In Elk Grove's case, they had a development where 100% of the homes are affordable for lower income households. It's an infill site, and as the Accountability Act also requires, it complies with their local objective standards. In other words, the project must be approved at the staff level without applying personal or subjective judgment, and the standards must be uniformly verifiable. In this case, the city did not apply objective standards in its decision to deny Oak Rose apartments. The city's actions also violate the city's moral and legal duty to affirmatively further fair housing and follow fair housing laws, including a law prohibiting land use decisions that discriminate based on protected characteristics of the people who live there, including level of income and disability. The law prevents cities from imposing different requirements on those projects with subsidy than on market rate projects. In this case, the city has done just that. The governor and the legislature have knit together a comprehensive collection of incentives and laws that, when taken together, will unravel historic housing and land use injustices and make a dent in this substantial crisis. It's our responsibility to ensure that every city and county is doing their part, and that is what we're doing with this action. Before I turn it back over, I just want to thank our agency and administration for their leadership on this issue, as well as the following people for their work in the Housing Accountability Unit and their commitment to ensuring housing for all Californians. Thank you to the whole team, in particular the work of David Zisser, Shannon West, Melinda Coy, Gabriel Pena Laura, and thanks to our legal team, Ryan Seeley, Brandon Williams, and Marty Carr. And we are beyond grateful to the Attorney General and the Housing Strike Force for their partnership in this mission. In closing, I want to reiterate HCD's approach. We lead with guidance and technical assistance to every city and county. And when jurisdictions fail to comply with state housing laws, including fair housing laws, we hold them accountable. Thank you, and I will turn it back to the Attorney General. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And let me just say that I'm very proud of the partnership that the California Department of Justice has with the governor's team. We are committed to having as much housing built as possible, consistent with California law, and to prevent those that seek to flout the law from doing so. And when we see violations of the law, we reach out to coach and correct and collaborate and get cities back on track. We've done that here with Elk Grove. They've resisted time and time again. And we wish we didn't have to be here, but we're here. Elk Grove's actions have left us with no choice but to respond in kind with a lawsuit enforcing California's housing laws in court. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.